massive thank you to Matt, Hank, Scott, Mini Mockmaker, and Bollinell for subscribing to the channel. If you're not featured in these clips, make sure you subscribe down below. Hello everyone, and welcome back to a brand new video, where today we return with round 4 of our F1 22 My Team Career Mode Season 5, of course, with our all-new Audi F1 team. If you're new around here, and you missed out on the video that went live over the weekend from Albert Park, Australia, I would highly recommend going back and checking out a quite dramatic end to an interesting race from the land down under. But we head back north this weekend, back to China and Shanghai, of course. We returned to this track during last season. We had actually a very, very exciting race from Shanghai. I often think it's actually quite underrated for a lot of people there with just how good a venue this place is. I've also noticed we've got $183 million in the bank, and we can't really do a lot else with it anymore. So I'm going to go through and spend quite a lot of money very quickly here on F1 22. May as well just finish off all the last upgrades on the team. To be honest, I don't really know why I forgot to do this prior to now. But yeah, this should hopefully give us, you know, a little bit of extra performance, everything like that. That is $100 million spent before we even get into the day's episode. So if that doesn't show excitement, I don't know what will there. But having a look then at the Drivers' World Championship, Charles Leclerc comfortably out in front after 3 Grand Prix, 3 race victories for the Monegasque driver. He is looking absolutely unstoppable at the start of Season 5 of this series. Lando Norris still separating myself from our teammate there. The two-time world champion Valtteri Bottas in P4 ahead of Ricciardo, and then both Alpines of Schumacher and Stroll inside the top 10 as well there. But as we head towards China this weekend, we need to try and return to winning ways, of course. Haven't won a race since the season finale last year in Brazil. So let's hope that this weekend we can try and change that and win our first Chinese Grand Prix as well on this game. Well, after 3 sunny Grand Prix to start the year, it was only a matter of time before we got a bit of a wet one, and it has come here in Shanghai. Jumping straight into Q1 then, because of course our qualifying track record has not been stellar this year. And yeah, slippery conditions can often mix up a Formula 1 grid as well. So we'll try and just make it through Q1 clean and tidy. I don't know whether the rain is going to move away later on in the session. Q1 I think is going to be pretty stable, but we might see a bit of a shake-up in Q2 and 3. Charles Leclerc, fastest time on the board then a 41.1, so at least we know what times we're aiming for. Of course, the AI can just come out and immediately know what the grip is like. I sadly do not, but 42.1 then puts us about a second away from our teammate, but we can try and push on a bit more, as that is not a particularly great pit exit by Yuri Vips. That got a bit close for comfort. Like I said, it certainly does take a little bit of time for us to build up the pace around this circuit. I think I've been quite lucky as well, to be honest. I've actually whacked on quite a lot of downforce ready for this weekend. The AI I don't think have as much, so we might have a bit of an even clear-cut advantage here in qualifying as we round our way through the final corner. Very, very wide there, running over the curbing, but that is going to be a big improvement. 41.2 that time. Leaves us just a 10th off Charles. Well, there we go then. Track conditions didn't really improve later on in the session. Oscar Piastri up in P3 though, but Charles and I clearly cut into Q2 there. Maybe we can try and get our second pole of the year. We'll have 1 Q2 out, 1 pole in a row. We'll keep just doing that, I guess. As we head out onto the circuit then, Charles Leclerc has just done a 1 minute 41.3 as Gasly's clearly got some sort of issue down at the end of the back straight. But yeah, apparently rain might just start getting a bit heavier towards the end of Q2, only by a little bit, but we might need to try and get a lap in nice and early here, as we actually had a cooling fault at the start of Q2. A little bit wide to start our first lap, but again we'll try and go for 2 and see what we can find. Our first lap again has felt fairly tidy, but as we round our way through the final corner, will the time show it? Out of the final turn up towards the line, 41.2, we do go fastest. There's definitely a little bit more. Well, Mick Schumacher and Valtteri Bottas have now gone quicker than me as we head down in towards the final couple of turns of our second lap. Purple through sector 2. We are definitely carrying ourselves through the more downforce-dependent part of this circuit.
Maybe more. Light rain is here to stay.
Plenty of curb down at the hairpin, but we'll get away with it, as Mark was saying that the rain probably isn't going to change at all between now and the end of Q2 there. That's the line you want through that final corner. Nice chunk of curb, but up to the line. First car into the 40s in these changeable conditions. That should hopefully be enough to see us into Q3. And there we go then, times at the end of Q2, both of our cars able to get down into the 1-minute 40s there. Any major surprises out in Q2? Perez, I'm sure, probably a bit gutted to be out there. Albon as well, after such a strong start to the year, probably a bit disappointed as well. Seems like Williams aren't able to maintain a lot of momentum, but Yuri Vips up in P6. He is absolutely flying. It really just has been a damp, drizzly qualifying session here from Shanghai, doing plenty of laps, but of course Q3 now is really where it matters. Every time I made it into Q3 so far this year, we have taken pole, albeit it's only happened once, so nice that we're back into Q3 again, but can we make it pole number 2? Charles Leclerc decided there's no messing around as we get into Q3, a 1-minute 40.3 first lap there on the board, so clearly it's just been hiding a little bit of time away, but you never quite know whether the track's improving as well. You know, perhaps this session is just all about being out there at the right time. As Yuri Vips up into P5 there, goes quicker than Oscar Piastri. We round the final corner to finish off our first run. What is the time gonna be? 1-minute 40.6 there. Top 3 in the championship, top 3 so far in Q3. Is all about trying to put the power down out of these traction zones around here that I'm still really struggling with, but not really able to find much more time, as I've actually gone out on a scrub set of the intermediates first of all. Want to try and save a fresh set right for the end of Q3 here, but yeah, we're not going to improve on this second lap by the looks of it, so it is going to have to require a big push late on in the session, try and get the line right through that final corner. Big kick of oversteer, but we don't even find any time. Still in P3. As everyone around us then looks to improve on their previous times, we've come back out into the circuit then, fresh set of tyres, 2 laps worth of fuel. This is going to be effectively now a one-shot qualifying session for us. There is apparently slightly more rain falling onto the circuit than earlier on in qualifying, as Daniel Ricciardo sets a 1-minute 40.2. Lando Norris into the 39th. The track's getting quicker. We have got to go for it now or never. Well, Lando Norris is going to be on pole then here for the Chinese Grand Prix. We go P3. We do recover nicely then right at the end of the session when the pressure was on, but a little bit gutted. It's the first non-Audi pole this year.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top 3. Norris, Leclerc and Mr. Monaco. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Well, there we go then, having a look at our final results there. Lando Norris able to get on pole there, 1/10 clear of Charles Leclerc, 3/10 ahead of myself there. You can see Mick Schumacher getting right up in the mix once again there. Mick Schumacher finally seeing some form here on F122. Ricciardo, Ocon, Tsunoda, Bottas, Yuri Vips, Oscar Piastri round out our top 10 then. Let's get into it. We're ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. Hopefully we can have a good, exciting race.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. It's a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first win with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt there's plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. The ever-tightening turns of 1 and 2 will prove tricky in the slippery conditions here in Shanghai, and anyone that slides wide will lose a lot of time getting back on track. Turn 14 should still be the best place for overtaking, but we'll have to see some improvement in the weather before the drivers can take advantage of that DRS assistance. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Mr. Monaco, Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ricciardo and Ocon, Tsunoda, Bottas, Yuri Vips and Oscar Piastri, Joe, Perez, Lance Stroll and Gasly, Daruvala, Drugovic, Nicholas Latifi and Robert Schwartzman, Ticktum, Magnussen, Théo Pourchaire and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Well, here we go then. Looks like we could be in for an exciting race today. Wet to dry conditions here in Shanghai often can deliver a fantastic afternoon's worth of action. But Lando Norris, first pole position for him in his all-new Ferrari car. We need just to, we'll keep the downforce exactly where it was at. We should, like I said, have a bit of an advantage in the early stages, but the second half of the afternoon might be where we struggle there. The AI incredibly good on dry to wet tracks. We'll see how that works the other way around today. I can't remember how good they are on wet to dry venues.
Okay, you're doing well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
Okay, so Mark already saying them. It's going to be a very, very short spell of rain this afternoon. Whether we believe them or not is a very different question, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see then what tyres we have to go on to see us through to the checkered flag. I feel like the hards might be a bit obsolete around this venue. Mediums are probably going to be the way to go, I guess. Well, Lando Norris is already lined up on the grid, and the rest of the field are barely heading through the final couple of turns there, so clearly eager to get on with it in that Ferrari car. Of course, has already taken pole positions for Alpine on this game before. Are we going to see him take a first win for Ferrari today? They're trying to put as much heat as we can into the rears. They might not have to last very long this afternoon. Perfect lineup there. 0.0 as we wait for Alex Albon at the rear of the field there to round out the grid. Going to be interesting to see where he can try and move up to throughout the entirety of this afternoon there. Really have hyped up Williams to start this year, and it might not have delivered up to expectations as we get to round 4 of the year then, here from Shanghai, China. Ferrari's Lando Norris on the pole. What is going to happen today? 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go. Really got to try and measure the throttle nicely as we head down in towards turn 1. But look at that, we've got a monstrous start. Don't say that very often on F1 22. There, Charles Leclerc will immediately try and get past Lando Norris in towards turn 1. But we're going to have a look at the inside of our teammate, and through we go into the lead of the the Chinese Grand Prix there. So a mega little start for us. As horrible understeer through turn 2 though, and Charles Leclerc will say thank you very much, he'll have it back. So as soon as I start hyping myself up, we just lose the place once more there, as here goes Lando Norris down around the outside. That's a big lock-up though, down in towards the hairpin. They're lucky to keep it on the island, and Lando Norris will go back through then into P2. So might have hyped myself up a little bit too early there at the start of the Grand Prix, but we did actually get decent getaway there. I seem to be okay in the intermediate conditions relative to the AI, but Charles Leclerc didn't start from the pole this weekend, but straight up into the lead. Might just try and do what he's done in a couple of races early on this season, and that's just run away at the start of a Formula 1 Grand Prix there. I can't remember if Lando Norris started on the front row last weekend in Melbourne. If he did, his track record of qualifying sessions this year has been absolutely out of this world, as Lando Norris in hot pursuit of our teammates as we head out onto the back straight. Mick Schumacher, of course, got his first podium last weekend in Albert Park as well, and look at how little top end speed we've got. They're using the ERS, and Mick Schumacher has just sailed past us down in towards the hairpin there. We're going to try and fight back though much later on the brakes there, muscle him out through the corner. Whoa, big snap of oversteer though as we try and settle down and work out what the grip's like at the start of this Chinese GP. But yeah, we end up, hang on a minute, we end up staying in we end up staying actually down in P4 there, so not the ideal that one, as Daniel Ricciardo will sneak by as well. It is going to be about trying to minimise errors early on this afternoon, as around the outside of the Australian, we know we've got so much more downforce than most of our opposition here, so surely we can try and make this one work. Don't run into the back of Mick through turn 2, and we are back into P4 then. Crazy scenes at the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. We've gone from 3rd to 1st, 1st to 4th, and then, 1st to 5th even, and then back to 4th in the space of a lap. We just lose so much down this spec straight, as here comes Daniel Ricciardo. Thought about a move up the inside there, but we will be able to go later on the brakes once again. That's going to have to be our saving grace down that huge back straight around this Chinese GP circuit there. Hop over the curbing through the final corner, with Charles Leclerc comfortably out in front. As we start lap 3, we've got to try and get back past Mick Schumacher and go in pursuit of those front runners. You still reckon the rain's going to clear up in about 10 minutes, which at these sorts of pace should be 6 or 7 laps. Still trying to find a way around Mick Schumacher. We're so much quicker than him through this middle sector, but just cannot find a way around the young German. I guess he's not so young anymore, of course, Season 5 of this career mode. He's probably, yeah, in his late 20s in this hypothetical universe, but finally getting to strengths in Formula 1. It feels like probably, yeah, sensibly shouldn't have been given this much time, but he's finally delivering for Alpine, as he's potentially on for his second podium in a row in this series. We can get so close heading through that middle sector, but of course we just wave goodbye down the back straight. We are getting a little bit closer each time round, but we've just got to try and send it somewhere. Are we close enough this time as we head our way through the S's? This is often my strongest point around this Chinese GP venue. Look how much speed we've got around the outside of Mick Schumacher there. Like I said, massively helped, of course, by the extra aerodynamic downforce that our setup's providing. But Mark loving that as well. Charles Leclerc, they're only 4 seconds up the road, so Lando Norris is certainly not making it easy for him this afternoon. But we're up a place. We've got to keep pushing on. Lando Norris, new fastest lap. We go even faster there. First car into the 43s in race trim. This race is far from over. It's certainly amazing the pace you can find when you're not staring at the back of an Alpine car. Another new fastest lap of the afternoon. We've got to be going at least half a second a lap faster than these two in front of us. We are just in the groove at the moment. A second on Lando Norris that time round there. The Ferrari car is starting to struggle a little bit, but Charles Leclerc is doing no better at the moment. Just we have finally got into the groove. Track conditions suiting our setup really nicely, and this is what I said early on. We have to be strong around this venue. The rain is definitely dissipating, as Mick Schumacher apparently is dropping back rather aggressively, as you would come to expect, but we've got to try and get around these two before the rain stops. Otherwise we might not get another chance this afternoon. Let's go for it. Well, the team now starting to look about when is going to be the right time to switch over onto dry compound tyres this afternoon. I'm tempted just to try and stay out 1 lap longer than the AI, because often they do like to box a little bit early in these GPs, going back onto the dries, of course, just because of the way the tyre temperature works, and obviously the fact that as a human you can't build up tyre temperature the way the AI can, does often mean that you struggle a little bit. But surely now we're close enough to Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris even, to try and do something through the S's once again. They're the Ferrari car, a bit more competitive than the Alpine. Surely it won't be competitive enough there. Look at that swoop right around the outside of Lando Norris, and it's another move made into the tight, just over 90-degree of the double left-handers. Whoa, big swings there, as you can see the back end trying to fight and straggle around for grip through the corner, but we're into P2 then. Don't do that. That's going to be Lando Norris straight back through. Made his life even easier than I'd ever really wanted to. And whenever we seem to get past Lando Norris this afternoon, we just let him straight back past again. It's about to start lap 10 of the Grand Prix. We're going to lose so much time now. The back straight, we'll have to go for it once more. So we actually got a mega run out of the final corner that time round. Very close to Lando. So we head back down in towards someone. I like to go for a really wide arcing move around this first corner against the AI. Oh, I just tried to blip the throttle there, see if we could try and get around the outside of him. Then the AI tend to hesitate and give you a bit more room, but not quite able to work that time around there. You know, we've got to use the AI mechanics to our advantage on this game. They certainly use their advantage over me whenever they get the opportunity there, as we head back up the hill once again. Are we going to be close enough to Lando Norris? Is it going to be a second attempt at the move we just pulled off? You can see how much more aggressive we can be on the turn in there through the first part, and then just swing around the outside of the Ferrari car through the second. To the inside we'll go. Again, 2 laps, 2 overtakes on Lando. This time around I've got to keep it clean and tidy off the exit. Don't make a mistake, that allows you to get straight back past me. Well, the team's still telling me to stay on the inters for a bit longer, but I had of course forgot about how much quicker that Ferrari car will be down the straight. To the inside though of Lando Norris. Just trying to pinch me a little bit there, but we make it through. We do hang on to P2. Charles Leclerc 3 seconds up the road now. We have got to go in hot pursuit of my teammate. Let's keep digging. Charles Leclerc 41.8, 40.9 for ourselves. There's levels to this game, Charlie boy. I've got to put an end to his winning streak this weekend, but it will only be a matter of a couple more laps before we switch over onto dries. Here we go. Team recommended new strat. This double set of softs to the checkered flag is certainly a brave choice. I think it is time though to move over onto a set of dry compound tyres, but I want to go mediums. I don't intend to stop again once we move to the dry compound tyres this afternoon. Will we see Charles Leclerc then into the pits at the end of lap 12? If he does, I can. If he doesn't, I will. Very, very simple there, as again we went purple through the first two sectors. Will we see Charles Leclerc in? Yes, we will. So we've got to try and brave out one more lap then on these intermediate compounded tyres. It won't be the end of the world. As, again, another new fastest lap of the day. Let's try and get this overcut. There's every other car into the pit lane then. Maybe this wasn't so ideal. There we go, we can see on the MFD as well, all those AI are actually, well, most of them even, are switching over onto the mediums as well. So clearly Mark was trying to sabotage me this afternoon. Charles Leclerc is heading back out on mediums, and sadly he hasn't got caught up in traffic either. That's really not helped us. There we go. TRS has now been enabled as every other car pit at the end of that lap. The gap when Charles Leclerc came out the pit lane was about 21 seconds, so we're not going to lose out a lot this time. Whoa. But we are definitely going to lose out a bit, of course, as the lap unfolds. We'll have one lap fresher tyres through to the checkered flag, and honestly, yeah, maybe just doing this extra one, it certainly hasn't done us a lot in terms of favours, but it might not have lost me much time. There's Dan Ticktum, appears to be one of the only cars that did stay out through that lap, of course. Just myself and our fellow Brit there, as Charles Leclerc now gap under 21 seconds. So we've definitely lost out a little bit, but into the pits we'll go at the end of lap 13. Basically half a race done on the intermediate tyres. Make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidy there. Don't want to risk a 5-second penalty. As long as we come back out ahead of Lando Norris, we shouldn't be too concerned this afternoon. But of course, the long road down to our pit box here, the final pit box on this lane. Let's hopefully a nice, clean, tidy stop onto those mediums. 2.4 is pretty good going. There goes Charles. Whoa!
See these tyres through to the end now. Are you okay? That was a nasty hit. Turn the engine off and wait for the marshals.
Feel like Lando Norris could have seen me there. I'm honestly tempted just to leave that one in the edit, because that is quite funny. Some of you guys tell me I shouldn't do rewinds, but if I do, I will showcase them. That one seemed a little bit unrealistic there as we came off the bump. We will re-emerge then side by side with Lando Norris rather than in a nasty head-on collision there, because not being funny. There would have been a very good chance Lando probably doing upwards of 190 miles an hour there down to turn 1. That could have genuinely been a career-ending collision between myself and our fellow Brit there, for both of us. Because Formula 1 cars don't do particularly well in head-on collisions like that. But we are back out into the circuit then. Arguably we've just cheated death, but we've got a lot of this race to continue on. 4 seconds up to Charles. This is really the first time all weekend we've had some dry running there, as here goes Lando Norris to the inside. Of course, DRS now going to make his life even easier, but late, whoa, on the brakes down around the outside, tries to swerve across me there into the braking zone, but to be honest, just trips himself over, as we'll get a clean avenue around the outside of the Ferrari car. We've got so much grip now. It's always quite funny when you finally start driving on a dry circuit again. Mick Schumacher, new fastest lap of the day, but he's going to have to pit again. So is Daniel Ricciardo behind him. Let's see now if we can close up on our teammate there, as Lando Norris again trying to have a look down the inside, but again, we'll swing round. Yeah, this race certainly isn't over there. New fastest lap of the day, 1:32.5. Charles Leclerc, the gap's come down about 8/10 that time. We've just got to remember what we learned in Albert Park last weekend. We can't push too aggressively too early on. We've got to try and get these tyres to the end in good shape as well. Every race so far this season, it's been the second half, and I'm finally now trying to set sights on our teammate Charles Leclerc. But again, just like Albert Park, ERS management is going to be quite critical towards the end of this one. We've got to try and close in. Well, in towards the final quarter then of the Chinese Grand Prix. We're still trying to manage the battery as well, but I've got another thing I've got to consider late on in the day, and that is the fuel. We underfueled the car at the start, we saved pretty much all of it, but looks like we are net burning more than the game thought we would be this afternoon, so that is going to have to be very, very managed late on in the day. Whether that's to try and get inside the DRS of Charles Leclerc and just lift and coast for a couple of laps, clean the free time down the straights. But I need to try and get within that DRS range. There's the gap now under 2 seconds. We've got a very, very real possibility of winning this one. There we go, lap 22, finally inside the range of Charlie Boy. We're not burning much extra fuel in this GP, so as long as I get it back to neutral, we should be pretty safe towards the checkered flag, but that's just going to give us a huge helping hand down the back straight every time there. It's only going to be a couple of tenths, but it'll make all the difference, especially I can just lift off and do that. They're still having to brake and cadence brake in towards the chicane, but I've also got to make sure that I'm back within the range, ready for the final corner, which that time round I was not. So there's still a lot to really think about late on here, but we've got to try and get round Charles. That's the big one. Now, I don't know whether it's worth trying to get ahead of Charles and then saving the fuel late on in the day. Of course, we can just park the bus through some of the lap, or whether we've just got to stay behind him, save the fuel, and then go for it incredibly late on. We know just how much the AI can really switch it up in the final 2 laps of a Grand Prix, and to be honest, I'm not sure whether we're going to find a way around Charles here. He's so quick. He does struggle between that fast S-bend and the end of this next snail section. Still, it's going to be so difficult there. As you can see him trying to push the car to the absolute limit. Can we get the nose to the inside? No, we can't. I've got to just try and throw him off somewhere, somehow, in the final 5 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix. Of course, down the back straight, he absolutely takes off. Nothing I can do about that. It's like he's got an extra gear or something in the other car, but we've just got to keep doing what we're doing. But we've got to try and work our way around him somewhere. 3 laps to go. We've got to try and get round Charles at some point soon. I might be able to try and get a nice run through turn 1 there. We'll wash out wide on the way in. Actually get fully alongside him on the way in there. And look at that, Charles Leclerc struggling. Knows he has to give me the room around the outside. We're going to go wheel to wheel through the first couple of corners here. Surely he'll try and get the run out of turn 3 there. And you can see just about does. But we are definitely now able to apply more and more pressure there. We're working out other opportunities that we might get to try and move past our teammate before the end of the Grand Prix, but we have still got to manage the fuel. We might get away with finishing a tiny bit under in this GP, but you can just see heading through the next couple of corners. Alex Albon out of the Grand Prix. Horrible weekend for him and Williams, but I don't care at the moment because we are through back into the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix. Haven't said that since lap 1 of this afternoon, but Charles Leclerc will surely get me back down the back straight. Surely he's going to be able to try and get a run. Just trying to save a little bit of fuel. Like I said, we're good through the snail section, but then we pretty much get to here, and the AI are able to just get on the throttle a bit quicker. But of course, Charles won't be able to do anything. Yellow flags out in this GP there, so he can gain all he likes, but he knows he can't do anything until we get down in towards the braking zone. Now he'll try it around the outside, but again, we've got to try and save some fuel. This is going to have to be micromanagement to the extreme, as Lando Norris, of course, only 6 seconds back. If something were to happen between us two, I'm sure the Ferrari driver would love to try and get involved, playing a similar role to what he did last year in that Alpine car. Of course, often didn't quite have the pace of our cars there. Look at that, Charles Leclerc so aggressively cutting in down at turn 1, but you know what, we'll send it back up the inside through the first corner there. Really slow down the pace through turn 2. Turn 3 there, just trying to save as much fuel as we possibly can. Charles Leclerc again will get the run off the corner. We are just having to try and control things as best as possible, as back up the inside will go again. Now we might be able to just try and pull away a little bit of advantage, but it doesn't really matter. Well, I hadn't realised as well over these last couple of laps is just how much ERS we've been able to save there. Charles Leclerc back up the inside. 1 more lap to go of the Grand Prix here from Shanghai. Oh, almost into the back of our teammate there, down at the hairpin. He tries to give me some room around the outside, but we're not quite going to be able to get the car there. And as we head in towards the final couple of turns, I think we've just got to push it now. We can't really focus on the fuel anymore. If it survives, it survives. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We have got to go for it. Back to the inside of Charles Leclerc, in towards someone. They're very aggressive with the manoeuvre, but we absolutely have to be there, make it clear to our teammate that we are coming through. Will it be Charles Leclerc with his fourth win of the season in a row, or will we finally put an end to our teammate's reign of tyranny? You can see he's just drop back ever so slightly through the next couple of corners. We've still got to lift and coast wherever we can on this final lap. This is going to be so close between myself and Charles Leclerc, but I've got to remember, we've got to have a big enough advantage down the back straight, because I won't be able to do anything through the final couple of turns. If he's ahead in that braking zone, unless we can dive bomb him, it's not going to make an ounce of difference there as winding our way through. Like I said, this is the part of the circuit where we are so much stronger than our teammate there. The gap opens up to 0.8 of a second. Will we get it over the 1 second mark as we head out in towards the DRS zone? Chuck it over the detection point there. We might just have done so. Charles Leclerc, he might just have taken a bit too much out of his tyres on the final lap of this Grand Prix. He's going to get back inside the 1 second mark. But is he going to get close enough? We can see our teammate getting closer and closer once again. I think he has still got the DRS on me as gaining. Charles Leclerc in towards the final couple of turns of the Grand Prix. We're into low fuel mode. We've got to try and limp round through these final couple of turns. As you can see there, the car getting slower and slower. We've just got to open up the battery through the final corner. Will it be Charles Leclerc? Will it be myself? We've got to try and block, but no, Leclerc gets me.
Out there. That was a strong drive and a great finish. Well done.
There'll be smiles at the factory after that one. A great race and a real team performance to take victory here in Shanghai. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
Daniel Ticktum gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today, as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Chinese Grand Prix, and Charles Leclerc win number 4 on the bounce. He has been absolutely unstoppable so far this season, but we certainly gave him a run for his money this weekend. They're just gutted. The way the game thought we would save enough fuel, and then heading through the final couple of turns there, it just went down into low fuel mode. Lando Norris gets another podium though for Ferrari, ahead of Ocon, finally getting a decent result in his McLaren car there. Tsunoda ahead of Yuri Vips, another big points haul for Yuri there, come the checkered flag. Gasly gets Mercedes' first points of the year. They're ahead of Stroll and Mick Schumacher there. Ricciardo as well, of course, on the 2-stop strategy. Really did mix up a lot of the grid actually further down. Plenty of cars on 2 stops. Allowed Dan Ticktum for some reason got driver of the day. 19th to 18th doesn't scream great result to me, but it is what it is, I suppose. There, and Albon, the only car not to make it through to the checkered flag. Championship-wise, though, Charles Leclerc around 100 points there at the top of the table, continues to extend that gap at the front of the field. Lando Norris still in P2 there. Lance Stroll up into 4th overall ahead of Mick Schumacher there. Ricciardo ahead of Bottas still with Perez. I mean, that is a fantastic battle going on for best of the rest. There is Lando Norris and the Audis that are so far clear of everyone else early on in this campaign. Tsunoda and Ocon jump Oscar Piastri. Yuri Vips up into P13. They're ahead of Pierre Gasly and Felipe Drugovich, and it's now just Daruvula, both Alphas, Latifi and the Aston Martins yet to score after the opening 4 Grand Prix there. Audi, we're just continuing to build up the gap at the top of the table, though. Ferrari hanging on to P2. They're ahead of Alpine, who jump Red Bull there. Mercedes with their first points jump Haas as well. And, you know, we hyped up Haas now for Romeo early on in this campaign. It is only really Williams that have lived up to any of that hype there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very, very soon when Formula 1 heads back to Imola for the first sprint weekend of the year. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.